one of the important things about dialogue is that it brings you to a realization of how many things you don't know.
Agreeing to disagree is usually an avoidance technique. You know, you and I have a conversation, you say something, I disagree with it, I say something, you disagree with it. And if I don't really want to deal with you, and you don't want to deal with me, one of us will say, we'll just agree to disagree. At face value, we've just said, we're not going to have any conversation about this. There will be no dialogue in this experience at all.
Conflict as such is inevitable and often desirable. How can you do that without being self-destructive as well as destructive to the other?
The 2012 InterFaith Works Leadership Award honors the Honorable Minna Buck, Mr. Ahmed El-Hindi, Professor Louis Kriesberg, Dr. Anis Obeid, and the Reverend Thomas V. Wolfe. These individuals have dedicated themselves to building bridges of understanding that affirm the dignity of all people and all faith traditions. We honor them for their notable careers and contributions to our community, and we honor them for their courage to engage in difficult conversations that have led them on a path of understanding and a search for peace.
You really made us feel that what we were doing was significant in a way that was very reinforcing, and if we may have had doubts every once in a while, you didn't seem to. So thank you for that.
I think probably Ahmed is the one most, with the most hands-on, if you wish, because he went through experientially being born and raised in a village in former Palestine. He became successful in whatever he did and in social activities and philanthropy, but also in a mindset that transcended what befell him at the time of his growing up.
I do remember that you were impatient and wanted us to get done, and here we are 30 years later, still at it.
I think Lou always demonstrated an ability to listen and hear people out, even when it wasn't always very particularly constructive. He could still listen without jumping in and beating somebody over the head.
He has the gift of smoothing over the points of contention and seeking commonality, or at least common grounds, and making you feel good about it. He makes you feel that what you said was valuable.
She was very practical and come to the point. Being an engineer, I can appreciate that.
In addition to the sober and thoughtful analysis, there is a charm and a goodness. You feel that she really means what she says.
Anis, you are our poet and our scientist. Not everybody has the capacity to express themselves fully out of the right and left side of their brain. And in the middle of all of the precision of your scientific mind and the artistry of your poetic mind, you have this humanitarian love. And in our dialogue, it would always come down to, but what does this mean for people?
Besides being a great philosopher and a poet and a humanist, he can tell jokes, and he enjoyed telling the joke as if he just more than the other people who are enjoying it. I mean, he laughed at his own joke so much that he had never done it before.
I graduated from that.
I know what I feel towards the Palestinian, but how do the other side feel about Palestine? And that was very enlightening, because I had to put myself in the position of a Jewish person.
There are a lot of different people there and here who have a lot of different concerns and interests, and nobody is that special that only theirs should count.
One of the things I have gotten out of this process, I think, is a greater understanding of the whole business of getting out of your comfort zone.
One of the ways in which people can find new solutions that they wouldn't have thought of except by really listening to what the other one said. Is this what you want? Oh, you don't really want to destroy me, but you're scared?
The most difficult transition is not to see dialogue as a threat to identity. If you are absolutely closed to anybody touching that identity, then you're not going to get into dialogue, because that will immediately shake it a little bit. If, on the other hand, you cross that bridge and look at identity in a dynamic way, and perhaps multiple identities, perhaps overlapping circles of identity that in the aggregate make you who you are, then you can build bridges and move beyond the dime, across the border.
There's a lot of evidence that in countries and regions and societies where there is a lot of cross ties among different ethnic groups, different religious groups, different classes, that they're less likely to end up having destructive conflicts, communal riots. It was true in the United States, where the existence of the interreligious organizations like InterFaith works in many communities in America. There were ways in which religious leaders would know each other on an informal basis.
I think the way we did it, having it meeting in people's homes, the dialogue, was a very effective, and it allowed you to connect with the person other than just talking about the subject that you're talking about. You met the person, his wife, his children, and so on, and it became, we became friends. And I think that is the most precious part that I got out of the dialogue, is the fact that I developed friends from the opposite side of my thinking by starting to appreciate how they think about the whole subject.
I've watched some ed members, after 20 plus years of dialogue, disagree and have feelings about that disagreement. But what sustains them is this history together that will keep them at it and keep that group growing, and that the cause they all care about deeply being articulated in a way that brings real solution.
We've always had to answer the question, you're 5,000 miles away. How can you tell people who are living in this situation day by day what to do? And our response has always been, we're not telling them what to do. We're looking on as Americans who are supportive of Israel and of the Palestinians' right to have a homeland.
If I recognize that you're hurting badly and I begin to feel some of your hurt, and vice versa, then we have crossed a major bridge. And the corollary of that would be the concept of hope. If we see that there is hope once we get over the angry phase in our lives, then I think things can move forward and we can change.
All hostilities sooner or later come to an end. No matter how bitter they are, no matter how horrible they are, things change, and it's within people to change them.
People ask me, like he said, what did you accomplish? I says, well, we at least developed some kind of a relationship between ourselves where we understand each other's people.
Okay, we don't have grandiose ambitions. We say, no, we're not going to. But at least a little pebble makes a little ripple, and another one makes a little ripple, and a little ripple, and gradually these ripples will become waves. I want to use the past as a springboard to the future, and not as a jail to be stuck in it, and future generations to be stuck in it.
Being in a dialogue group and everything, and learning about different race, cultures, and how I got to interact with others and all that stuff, it just changes the whole entire me wanting to go back.
We should get like more people involved, because dialogue is like a way of opening your mind.
It's really important to have a dialogue group. I mean, like, they've done this for like 30-something years. Like, wow. I mean, like, I truly feel so good right now. Like, it just makes me think to myself, like, I should continue with this, and I just feel like I will get something out of it.
I never really thought about this kind of dialogue as a lifelong activity or thing that people do, but I guess it is. That's all I wanted to say.
You have to start with putting aside your own narrative and your own understanding of things, and listen to what other people are saying, and respond to it, rather than being defensive to protect the ground you're already on.
The impact of dialogue is that even with potential adversaries, you can lower the barrier, you can remove the roadblocks, and you can nurture the relationship of human to human and the commonality that binds us in the global village.
When you come into dialogue, rules of engagement are, you don't agree to disagree. You disagree honestly, with integrity, and in relational terms with the other.
Each one of us was so polarized in his own thinking, and until you heard more of the other side, and then, like I said, put yourself in their position and accept some of what they accepted, then it became easier to continue.
In this dialogue group, we always had in mind that we were trying to do something collectively that we couldn't do alone.
This is where we have changed. I know I have changed throughout my life and my career in a very substantial way. And I hope I'll continue to change. And I hope the dialogue will never end.